George Heslin, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, good morning. Good morning. I can't hear you. Good morning. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Origin's third Bloom at Bloom's Tavern, of course. So I'm going to say the first part and then you're going to all say at Bloom's Tavern, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Origin's third Bloom. Bloom's Tavern. Thank you. Give yourself a round of applause for turning out on a typical Irish morning. Thank you to Tourism Ireland. That's a joke. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here on June 16th as we celebrate the wonderful Ulysses and James Joyce. First of all, I'd like to welcome some wonderful people here. I'd like to welcome our Consul General, Barbara Jones, who's going to say a few words in a moment. I'd like to welcome the head of the Northern Ireland Bureau, Lorraine Turner. I'd like to welcome Tourism Ireland, representative from Invest Northern Ireland, and many other great organisations across the city. I'd also like to thank you to the media who turned out this morning, and in particular thank you to the media who support Origin throughout the year. So here today we have the Irish Voice, the Irish Echo, Irish Television, AM New York, the New York Post, and many, many other publications. Patricia Hartley from Irish America, thank you for being here also. As you know, today is a celebration of 1904 and James Joyce and Ulysses, and we have a competition today. So we are blessed to have three extraordinary judges. Give it up for Margaret Molloy, who's extraordinary PR and Twitter to the stars. Margaret, thank you for being a judge. One of our dear members of the Irish community, Orla Maguire-Moore, who just launched an international makeup brand called Lash Star, which launched last Monday on QVC, and it's well worth checking out, lashstar.com. Thank you, Orla Maguire-Moore. And this year we're delighted to partner, where else would you partner with Bloom's Tavern but Bloomingdale's? We'd like to have the Head of Director of Development, Ellen Pressenberger, so thank you for being here. So ladies and gentlemen, our judges are going to ramble around the room. They may come up to you and ask you for your name and phone number, and we will announce the best dressed competition at about 9:30. Our programme ends this morning at about 9:30, just so you know, so if you can stay for all of it. We have wonderful stars from Broadway to Hollywood and back. So thank you all for being here. I'd like to hand this over at the beginning to Irish Consul General Barbara Jones. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Bloomsday. Thanks to Bloom's Tavern, magnificent venue. Saoirse Ronan said at the Irish Rep the other night, everything starts in a pub. So today is one of those days where we get permission to start off in this splendid establishment. It's difficult, as Consul General, I said this last year, and I think Lorraine would agree with me, being on the government side of it, because Joyce had so many difficulties in life with government. And during the 2016 celebrations over the last couple of weeks, Evan Boland recounted a story of her father, who was Freddie Boland, who was ambassador in Zurich. And Eamon de Valera and James Joyce almost bumped into each other in the lift. And Joyce, Mrs. Joyce, Nora recognising it that it was de Valera, then asked afterwards, could Joyce meet de Valera? And Freddie Boland was the ambassador, and de Valera felt that it wasn't appropriate to meet James Joyce, so there you are. And Evan Boland's father goes to meet him, and she has written a beautiful poem about the encounter, where all James Joyce wanted to talk about in the conversation with Freddie Boland was about Dublin. And every single, the sort of the leitmotif, the theme of the whole day was, is that still there? Is that still there? So it's an amazing testament the way all of our gatherings, cultural gatherings, this special year 2016, have brought us all together in new narratives and old stories. This is the most important book. They say if you had to claim one book as the most important book of the 20th century, this book is it. It's transformed the novel, made Dublin a global city, and Joyce himself put Ireland on the literary landscape in a way that other writers have done in other genres, but for the novel, Joyce did it. It's an amazingly important thing we do in picking up this started to happen in 1929. Just finally on the sort of, here we are in New York, and there's Dublin, and there's Paris, and there's Zurich. I was 2 weeks ago in Buffalo, New York, and I visited the University of Buffalo Joyce collection. if you ever have the opportunity to visit it, it is the most comprehensive collection of Joyce memorabilia and his notebooks on Finnegan's Wake. And they are very, very keen to make that accessible to us. So as Irish community, University of Buffalo is the place which has all of the papers from the Joyce family. And second of all, in terms of those of you who get to Philadelphia, in the Rosenbach Library in Philadelphia, they have the original Ulysses manuscript, and that is available for viewing by appointment. So we are very close to Joyce. Joyce is very close to us here in New York. And thanks to the great work of Origin, it's especially close to us today as we recall this great, great work and this amazing wordsmith. And remember Dublin, and it's still there.
Thank you, Barbara Jones. I'd like to also welcome, guys, here we have a wonderful cultural community here in New York, and New York is the crossroads of the world. I know we have people here today from the Derry Clipper. I know we have people here from the Cork City Ballet, from Fishamble Theatre Company Dublin, the Irish Rep, the Irish Arts Centre. So thank you all for joining us and all our great organisations in New York. I'm proud to say at Origin Theatre Company we have a lot of great women involved in our organisation. We are board members of 12, and believe it or not, 7 of our board members are women, so we're very proud of our female contingent on our board, extraordinary women. I also want to say thank you to the Origin staff, to Paolo, our General Manager, Lauren, our Development Director, Erwin, our Director of Programme, and Rachel, our Membership Manager. So without further ado, I'd like to hand you over to one of our extraordinary board members who actually works at Fordham University. Please welcome Kate Kennon, who's going to speak about a little bit about the power of women behind Ulysses.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Kathleen Kennon. I am a member of the Origin Theatre Board of Directors, and I want to thank George very much for your boundless creative energy, not only in the Irish theatre, but theatres everywhere here in New York. Also, a few more thank yous to Barbara Jones, who is always, always here for us, the Irish and the Irish American community, even at 7:30 in the morning. A big thank you to Paula, wherever you are in the house. Thank you for your hard work and your thoughtful organization of today's event. I also thank Bloom's Tavern, of course. Of course. I can't think of a better way to start the day today. Maybe every day. I'll meet you here tomorrow morning. Open bar, right? As well as being a board member for Origin, I also represent, as George said, Fordham University's Institute of Irish Studies. And we're very proud that we're in full support of Origin Theatre. And I hope we see you here this fall with some of our co-produced events. And speaking of support, this is my last thank you, I promise, until I see you personally in the audience. I'm happy to announce that we recently had our Origin Theatre benefit, and it was our most successful one to this date. So if anyone is here who went to our benefit, we are so grateful to you. So, to the business at hand. You may have heard of Waking the Feminists. It is a consciousness-raising initiative to celebrate the role of women in the business and the creativity of Irish theatre. That is hashtag Waking the Feminists. Hashtag. I would love to know what Joyce would have done with hashtags and Twitter, right? But hashtag Waking the Feminists, very important this year. It also extends outside the theatre into the broader general area of arts. And in that spirit, I've been asked, and very, very happy to do so, to talk a little bit about Sylvia Beach, the independent and fascinating publisher of Ulysses in Paris. So I'm going to use the words of her biographer, Noelle Riley Fitch. I'm going to use her words, not my words, because it's too early in the morning. My words are home in bed and have yet to wake up. So I'm going to use Noelle's words. Of the many Americans who came to Paris during World War I, because it was a very inexpensive place to live, no one made a bigger contribution to modern literature than Sylvia Beach. The daughter of a Presbyterian minister from New Jersey, she moved to Paris permanently in 1919 with the opening of her bookshop and lending library, Shakespeare and Company, in 1919. She began 2 decades of being the most famous bookstore in the world, with writers like Hemingway, Archibald MacLeish, F. Scott Fitzgerald, T.S. Eliot, Ezra Pound, Thornton Wilder, Catherine Ann Porter, Samuel Beckett, who you may have heard of, and Sherwood Anderson, all hanging around the shop, borrowing books. And Joyce was there, of course. James Joyce. He made Shakespeare and Company his second home. Beach's most arduous labor and her greatest single contribution came in the service of James Joyce. In 1922, she courageously took on the task of publishing Ulysses, a decision that shaped for better, maybe for worse, the rest of her life, because for 11 years she was his sole publisher. As her biographer notes, to assist Joyce was to have one's life taken over by him, and until he found someone years later who would make more money for him, he leaned on her to be his publisher, his agent, his promoter, his avenger, whatever that means, banker, financier, patron, lawyer, translator, postal clerk, and friend. It is in tracing Sylvia Beach's relationship with Joyce that shows most clearly her defining traits: her personal loyalty, her devotion to literature, her wit, her intelligence, her efficiency, and her endurance. Joyce believed that genius should be served, and Beach, for the sake of Ulysses, was Joyce's servant. Now, these are very strong words, but you want your biographer to feel strongly about things, don't you? So in conclusion, we are here to celebrate Bloomsday, a day of creativity and imagination, made possible not only because Sylvia Beach published Ulysses, but she is also responsible for the very concept of Bloomsday. So if you could raise a glass for Sylvia, if you have a glass. Joyce was the literary hero of this story, but Sylvia Beach named this day Bloomsday. And we would not be here today in such glorious company if it was not for Sylvia Beach. So cheers to Sylvia.
Cheers.
Thank you. And now it's my honor to introduce George. Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Folks, thank you all again. Also, I'd like to welcome all of our friends online. This has been live streamed to Origin's Facebook page, and we're also on Twitter, Origin Theatre 1, so please feel free to tweet. No great event is finally put together by a wonderful MC. We are honoured, ladies and gentlemen, to have a distinguished actor, actor-director, producer, artistic director of the Gingold Theatre, Mr. David Stoller. Gingold Theatre specialises in the work of George Bernard Shaw. This man is extraordinary with language, extraordinary with his talent. I also want to say thank you to all of our great actors you're about to hear who've travelled far and wide, some of them on Broadway who've gotten out of bed, others just travelled across the world from feature films to be here with us. But for now, I'll hand you over to David Stoller. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. What I love best about this book, I think, is the idea that every day counts. Every day is full, and to miss a day is to miss part of life. And here we are all together celebrating it. Honor Molloy, come up here. Come. Rather than just introducing people and then make them come up, I want you to watch them while I'm talking about them. You were born in the Rotunda Hospital, were you? Yes. Isn't that wonderful? You're a dramatist. You're the author of Smarty Grove Dublin, Savage. The South Theatre will produce the world premiere of your play Cracked Skull Row this September. Woo-hoo! As part of Origin's first Irish Festival. What theatre? Do you know what theatre yet?
It's called The Workshop.
At The Workshop. That's on 36th Street.
Yes.
I'll be there, and I expect to see all of you there. Ladies and gentlemen, this section that you're about to read, I can't wait. This section is the opening of the book, 8 a.m., right?
Yeah.
And gives a good introduction to the character and temperament of Daedalus. Ladies and gentlemen, honor Molloy!
Stately plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him in the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned an Halted, he peered down the dark winding stairs and called out coarsely, "Come up, Kitch! Come up, you fearful Jesuit!" Suddenly he came forward and mounted the round gun rest. He faced about and blessed gravely thrice the tower, the surrounding country, and the awakening mountains. Then, catching sight of Stephen Daedalus, he bent towards him and made rapid crosses in the air, gurgling in his throat and shaking his head. Stephen Daedalus, displeased and sleepy, leaned his arms on the top of the staircase and looked coldly at the shaking, gurgling face that blessed him, equine in its length, and at the light, untonsured hair, grained and hued like pale oak. Buck Mulligan peeped an instant under the mirror and then covered the bowl smartly. "Back to barracks! For this, so dearly beloved, is the genuine Christine body and soul and blood and ooze." Slow music, please. Shut your eyes, gents. One moment. A little trouble about those white corpuscles. Silence, all! He peered. Silence up, and gave a long, low whistle of call, then paused a while in rapt attention, his even white teeth glistening here and there with gold points. Chrysostomos. Two strong, shrill whistles answered through the calm. "Thanks, old chap. That will do nicely." He skipped off the gun rest and looked gravely at his watcher, gathering about his legs the loose folds of his gown. The plump, shadowed face and sullen oval jowl recalled a prelate, patron of the arts in the Middle Ages. A pleasant smile broke quietly over his lips. The mockery on it. "Your absurd name, an ancient Greek." He pointed his finger in friendly jest and went over to the parapet. Stephen Daedalus stepped up, followed him wearily halfway, and sat on the edge of the gun rest, watching him still as he dipped the brush in the bowl and lathered cheeks and neck. "My name is absurd too. Malachi, Mulligan, 2 dactyls, but it has a Hellenic ring, doesn't it? Tripping and silly like a buck himself. We must go to Athens. Will you come, if I can get the aunt to fork out 20 quid? Will he come, the jejune Jesuit?" Ceasing, he began to shave with care. "Tell me, Mulligan," Stephen said quietly. "Yes, my love? How long is Haines going to stay in this tower?" "God, isn't he a dreadful, a ponderous Saxon? He thinks you're not a gentleman. These bloody English, bursting with money and indigestion because he comes from Oxford. You know, Daedalus, you have the real Oxford manner. He can't make you out. Oh, my name for you is the best. Kinch, the knife blade." Mulligan shaved warily over his chin. "He was raving all night about a Black Panther," Stephen said. "Where is his gun case?" "A woeful lunatic. Were you in a funk?" "I was. Out here in the dark with a man I don't know, raving and moaning to himself about shooting a Black Panther. If he stays on here, I'm off. Buck Mulligan frowned at the lather on his razor blade. He hopped down from his perch and searched his trouser pockets hastily. Sputter! He came over to the gun rest and, thrusting a hand into Stephen's upper pocket, said, "Lend us a loan of your nose rag to wipe my razor." Stephen suffered him to pull out and hold up on show by its corner a dirty, crumpled handkerchief. The bard's nose rag, a new art colour for our Irish poets. Snot green. You can almost taste it, can't you? He mounted to the parapet again and gazed out over Dublin Bay, his fair oak pale hair stirring slightly. God, isn't the sea what Algie calls it? A great, sweet mother. The snot-green sea, the scrotum-tightening sea, epioi no paponton, no Daedalus, the Greeks. I must teach you. You must read them in the original. The latter. She is our great sweet mother. Come and look. Stephen went to the parapet. Leaning on it, he looked down on the water. The mailboat clearing the harbour mouth of Kingstown. Our mighty mother, Buck Mulligan said. The aunt thinks you killed your mother. That's why she won't let me have anything to do with you. Someone killed her, Stephen said. You could have knelt down, damn it, when your dying mother asked you. I'm Hyperborean as much as you. But to think of your mother begging you with her last breath to kneel down and pray for her, and you refused. There is something sinister in you. He broke off and lathered again lightly his farther cheek. A tolerant smile curled his lips. But a lovely mummer, Mulligan murmured to himself. Kinch, the loveliest mummer of them all.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Jim Norton, would you come up? Can you make it through? Let's airlift him the way they do it. This is wonderful. Jim, while you're coming, are you there?